I'd like to welcome Daren, or introduce Daren Poole. He's our, I need to get it right, he's not our head of, he's our global head of creative. He's also often a keynote speaker, and he was one at Cannes quite recently. He was a judge at the Australian Effies and BMT Awards. So yes, what Daren doesn't know about creative, I still need to find out. So without much further ado, Daren.
Great, thank you. Good morning, everybody. She's gone, but I have to say, Nat's had some brilliant examples there of human creativity. And my presentation this morning questions what's going to happen in a world where artificial intelligence is becoming increasingly prevalent. In the context of Sandhu's presentation, and someone tweeted this, I gave a similar presentation at the Apex Awards on Monday night. Someone pointed out this should actually be woman versus machine, the quest for ROI. But anyway, that aside, the genesis of my presentation was actually being at Cannes last year. I was at Cannes for the full week, and then on the Monday I had to go into a cinema in Belgium, as you do, and give a presentation on my impressions from Cannes. So I sat there on the plane and I was writing down all of the different themes that I'd come across during the week. I called it Cannes word bingo. You can sometimes call it ruder things than that, kind of management buzzwords. Then I updated it for this year, and obviously it's not a surprise given the title of my presentation. I'm going to talk about artificial intelligence. But this year there was just so much talk about AI. Absolutely right, inclusion and diversity were very much there. A lot about female empowerment. But I went to so many sessions that were about AI and how that can drive creativity, and VR and AR and e-com and things like that. So, in that context, let's explore what AI is going to do to our industry. And it is something that people are concerned about. So, WARC, the World Advertising Research Centre, did a piece of research last year, talked to 600 marketers, 600 agents and personnel, and said, which of the following emerging techs do you expect to be most important to your business or your client's business in 2018? And as you can see here, this is the data that comes from brands. About 60% of respondents said, I expect artificial intelligence to be the most important thing. And a lot of the other techs that are in there actually are based on artificial intelligence. Amongst the agency community, it was actually the second item, chatbots and messenger apps, that they said would be most important. But of course, chatbots are very much driven by AI. So it's something that our industry is thinking about. And it's something that I thought, therefore, I really need to understand myself. And I went off and I did a lot of research and found out what AI is and what AI isn't, and what it can and what it can't do. And I'm going to share some of that with you over the next 20 minutes or so. I don't know if Kyle's here. I met my colleague Kyle, who's working with artificial intelligence. Actually, artificial intelligence is really computer programming. We need to understand that. It's become this really, really big idea. It's the use of computers. So let's debug that bit straight away. But how can computers help us in 2018 and going forwards? So I developed this kind of professional interest because I'm a little bit scared about AI and people's dependence on it, or supposed dependence upon it. And then I saw this article in Adweek in September last year. So IBM announced that not only was it playing with AI anymore, not only was Watson going to take part on the Jeopardy game show, but Watson was going to break into advertising. And they actually created Watson Advertising, a separate division of IBM. And he was doing some, what I think are kind of more benign things like media planning and media buying, so the whole idea around programmatic. It was also being used for strat planning, which I think is sad because I think strat planning is disappearing a little bit too much in our industry. As Adweek, A-D-W-E-A-K, Adweek on Twitter says, anybody that sits at a computer with Google for half a day is now a strategic planner, which is, that's not the case. But the bit that scared me a little bit was that Watson is also going to be doing creative as well. So they're going to ask computers to start writing creative. And frankly, that scared the living daylights out of me because all of the human creativity that Nat showed us, I think it is a unique human trait. What scared me even further was one of our biggest global clients came to me a few weeks later and said, you've tested 170,000 ads over the time. We know you put them into a database. We want you to feed that into artificial intelligence and tell us what the perfect ad is. And it's like, I kind of bang my head, because I strongly believe that there are no silver bullets in creativity. Of course, over the years, we've learned some of the key elements of driving great creative, but I don't really think you can teach a computer how to do that. And I fear that if we send AI through our database, it will just lead to lowest common denominator trash that really isn't going to be effective for brands. So I thought, yeah, okay, let me set out to develop this thought a little bit further. I also thought about some of the other fears. Do you recognise, Tom Cruise? That's Tom in Minority Report in 2002. So back in those days, we were imagining, if you remember the movie where his corneas replaced, he's walking through a mall and he gets hyper-personalised ads from Guinness and Lexus and Bulgari, and he goes into a Gap store, and in the Gap store, a VR assistant welcomes his other persona and asks him how his chinos are going. That's the sort of personalisation that we're going to be able to get with artificial intelligence. And what we know is that personalisation, people tend to like it, but it's a very, very fine line to tread, because you go over that line and actually personalisation becomes a little bit creepy. There was the case where, there was a schoolgirl in the US, and from her purchasing habits, they realised she was pregnant before she even knew it. And a store, I think it was Target sent her some coupons for maternity wear, and her dad opened the mail. So that's where AI goes wrong. One of my favourite cartoonists also talks about that. So Marketoonist does a weekly cartoon on marketing themes. Highlights that AI is actually going to know that you've got hemorrhoids or that you're needing incontinence pads. The scary thing actually is, these days I'm a bit of a lighter user of Facebook. I go in and stalk people every now and again, but I did go into Facebook last week and I did have an ad for Depend male incontinence pants. It's like, have you been listening to me, Facebook? But it is freaky. Just because I've turned 45, it doesn't mean I suddenly lose control of the bladder. So there's a fear about what AI can do in terms of overstepping the line of personalisation, but what I've tended to learn when I discuss AI with people is that people fear for their jobs when it comes to AI as well. It's like, if computers can do all this sort of stuff in our industry, what does it mean for our jobs in the future? Will we need creatives? Will we need people to test ads? Will we need people to make decisions about our brands? That is a bit scary. So, in terms of what AI can do, there are some really good cases that talk to where it's driven a lot of ROI in businesses and driven a lot of financial gain. Amazon is one of them. Is there anybody from Amazon here, by the way? I know that they're on the floor, 2 floors down. Good, because I can talk about them. Amazon in 2012 bought a robotic AI company called Kiva, paid $775 million for it. At the time, it was taking them between an hour and 15 minutes to fulfill an order, so from click to ship. And by using Kiva and AI, they've brought that down to a 15-minute click to ship. While they've increased their capacity or their inventory by 50%, that therefore has brought their operating costs down, and so they've declared a 40% ROI on that $775 million purchase. Not bad, not surprising, they're one of the world's most valuable brands today. The other brand that has demonstrated big ROI on AI is Netflix, and they've done that in 2 ways. One of them is in terms of compressing film. So if you've got a low bandwidth, if you've got poor streaming quality, they compress films. And they use AI to go in and they look frame by frame at what's different from the program before, and therefore decide which sections of the movie or the program are the most suitable to be compressed. Which is why sometimes you get that little bit of pixelation when you're watching Netflix. But the other bit, the bit that they've declared has saved them $1 billion, is in terms of your personalised recommendations. So they have this insight that if you go into Netflix and you can't find something to watch within 90 seconds, you tend to leave the platform. And if you do that 3 or 4 times, then you leave the platform forever. You cancel your subscription. So they believe that the quality of their recommendations has saved them $1 billion in what would otherwise be lost subscriptions.
Same on Spotify.
Yeah.
Same
Yeah.
idea where they recommend
Yeah,
releases
absolutely.
of new songs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, you know, AI in some ways really quite proven. I think the other area where AI has been successful and is increasingly successful is with these things. So home assistants, voice assistants. Obviously we've got Amazon and Alexa, we've got Google's Home Assistant, we've got Siri. The last one you might not recognise, this is China's virtual assistant called Ling Long Ding Dong. Not a word of a lie. It's a long word. It is interesting. You don't wake her up by saying Ling Long Ding Dong. It's a little bit short.
You said Ling Long Ding Dong.
Don't say that. AI has improved in leaps and bounds over the last few years in terms of the ability to recognise voices, and that's what has driven this. PwC says that a third of homes are expected to get a voice assistant in the next couple of years globally. And frankly, that scares me a little bit. I don't want one of these devices listening to me in my home at any time to hear a keyword. That is somewhat disappointing. As a thank you from Apex for speaking at their awards the other night, they actually gave me one of these. It's like, yeah, great, thank you. I just want to say. I think there's an implication here for the jobs that we do as well. So if you think about it, the way that Amazon, the way that Google want us to work is they want us to be ordering our shopping using one of these devices. And they very much expect us to say, as one of my American colleagues does, they say, Alexa, get me some batteries. And if you notice that, it's using the category name, product name, rather than a brand. And so it questions, what is going to become of brands in the future? Will we just buy the thing that we bought last? Will we just buy the category? And therefore, will there be a need for brand building? Arguably, you say, well, it could lead to the first purchase that you ever make. But arguably, you just say, well, just buy search so that a voice assistant chooses your brand over the Amazon own brand. A big challenge, and there's a massive debate that you could have around that. The other area that is of interest to me is chatbots. Actually, Facebook has changed its terminology. It doesn't talk about chatbots anymore, it talks about bots. Because it's found that its own technology really doesn't have the ability to chat. It hasn't got that natural language capabilities to that extent yet. But we are in a world where we actually need help to make decisions. So 40% of consumers we spoke to said, there are so many brands, I need help to make choices. And chatbots are really good at helping to funnel people through decision funnels. So Tommy Hilfiger has a bot called Tommy Girl. 1-800-Flowers actually uses Watson advertising as its platform, and when you go into it, it says, right, who are you buying flowers for, what's the occasion, what colours do they like, and it drives you to a very, very fast click to purchase. And it also uses an element of machine learning as well, so it learns about you and what you tend to buy, so you get to check out even faster. And in Australia this year, around the Formula One, Heineken used a bot as a competition entry mechanism. So rather than going through a more traditional entry process, you talk to this virtual bouncer who asks you questions to help you get through to win a trip to the Grand Prix. There are issues with bots, and Simon did touch on this, and that is that bots are ultimately AI. AI has to be trained by people. Most of the people programming AI are 20-something white males. And so a lot of the bots take on the personalities of those people. A lot of experimentation gives the bots to people to train. And there's a very famous case of where a bot became racist within 24 hours because people were training it. The other thing that scares me about this, you may have heard about this last year, Facebook was trying to use machine learning, so having one bot talking to another bot to improve the quality of chatting. The bots decided that English was too complex a language, and so they invented their own language to talk to each other. And so the programmers didn't know what they were talking about. And so they literally pulled the plug on it because they were concerned about what these computers were saying to each other. Absolutely. The other thing to say, again, I come to the marketoonist, there's another couple of areas around bots. and around e-commerce. The first is that the voice recognition isn't yet perfect, and every African lady I've spoken to over the last 3 days has said, my car, my phone doesn't understand me. There is an element that inside those voice assistants, there is a company trying to change the face of retail. And again, for brands, I think that is a little bit scary. It's not all about fear. So that's some of the things that AI can do. Let's get to the crux of my question though. Can AI, artificial intelligence, do creativity? And I've done quite a lot of research about this and found some great cases of where clearly AI isn't going to be able to do creativity for quite a while. One group of companies doing that, or one group doing that, is called Botnik Studios. And Botnik has fed all of the works of J.K. Rowling into a computer and said, based on how she writes, write the next Harry Potter novel. And so a computer has written Harry Potter and a portrait of what looked like a large pile of ash. I've read it, you don't need to read it, but I've got some highlights for you. And it looks and feels a bit like J.K. Rowling until you get to something like leathery sheets of rain lashed at Harry's ghost as he walked across the grounds towards the castle. Ron was standing there and doing a kind of frenzied tap dance. He saw Harry and immediately began to eat Hermione's family. Later, the three heroes found a secret door. Look, said Mr. Staircase, the shabby-eyed ghost. They looked at the door, screaming about how closed it was, and asking it to be replaced with a small orb. The password was beef women, Hermione cried. And then later, when the adventure's over, not so handsome now, thought Harry as he dipped Hermione in hot sauce. The Death Eaters were dead now, and Harry was hungrier than he'd ever been. So, I mean, clearly, yeah, there's an element of language processing going on there and ability, but creating quite a bit of nonsense. And there are lots of experiments that show that this is how far AI is right now.
Baby steps.
Baby steps, indeed, and quite scary. I mean, I know I keep on using that word. I also follow a researcher, a programmer, who's working quite a lot with neural nets and giving computers the entire global knowledge of certain categories and saying, right, now you create some of these things for me. So I know that you have love hearts here in South Africa. She got people around the world to send her all the love hearts they came across, so they could be fed into a computer, and the computer could kind of understand what sort of cute little message you get on candy. And then she said, okay, computer, write me some more. And things like Love Bun and My Bear and Dear Me were really very nice. But I'm not sure how many people would like to be called Sweat Poo, or Stank Love, or Hole. So really some quite strange examples coming out. What I have to say is the computer also recognised that there are quite a lot of four-letter words on Love Hearts because you haven't got a lot of space. And it also came up with some rather X-rated suggestions to go onto Love Hearts as well. I couldn't put them on a presentation slide, they are too rude, but very, very suggestive. If you want to see them, I can send them to you. No, I can't. I'll share with you. So there's, again, another example of where it's not working. The same lady then looked at paint colours. I don't know if any of you have decorated recently, but if you look at a Dulux catalogue or something like that, there are so many paint colours out there with some really quite bizarre names. And so again, she fed all of those into a neural network, and it came up with thousands of new colours. Let you have a read. I'm thinking of doing a feature wall at home right now. I'm off to look after next. Thinking of maybe Cindy's poop or Turtley. What they observed about these, not only did they have some bizarre names, but they were also quite kind of dull. And so they went back and they changed the way it asked the computer to generate colours using RGB codes rather than doing a visual identification of the colours. It came up with some slightly brighter colours. Gave me new options of farty red and possibly dad. Decorating my spare bedroom with dad. And then finally, the same researcher, she did the same thing with lipsticks. As you may know, lots and lots of shades of red out there basically. And she fed all of these into a computer. If any of you ladies are interested in sex orange or sugar beef for your lips, let me know and I'll put you in touch with a researcher. So, I mean, ultimately what I've shown, it's a little bit of fun, it's a little bit exaggerated, but it shows that we're not quite there yet, but we are on our way to a world with artificial creativity. And in Australia recently, the Australian Broadcasting Corporation had a program called The Race to AI. And as part of the program, they created a website that you could type in your job title and it would tell you what your probability of being replaced by a computer was. Now, the nearest one for me is a market research manager, and I've only got a 14% chance of being replaced by a computer or automation. And the good thing is it says that what will go away is not your job, but some of the more mundane bits of your job. For those of you who are brand managers or who are in the creative industries, I'm sorry to tell you that your chance of being replaced by a computer is twice as high as mine. It's saying that you do more routine stuff than me, but it's still only a 1 in 4 chance. But what this says to me is that, based on that evaluation, sorry, it's called The Race to AI from the ABC.
The race to AI?
The Race to AI, yeah. So what this says to me, based on the slightly exaggerated creative efforts that I've shown you, based on the research from the ABC, we remain the guardians of creativity. I do think there's something magic about creative, which is about taking apparently unconnected themes and ideas and bolting them together and creating human emotion, human inspiration out of them. So it's up to us to be guardians of that. In terms of how we're going to do it, this very much reflects the points that Nats made a moment ago. I think what we have to do is we have to start thinking about start with thinking what the brand's objectives are, not what ad tech, not what AI can do for us. So very often when we're talking with our clients, they're right at the end of their creative development stage, but today we're in such an agile environment that it's like, right, I need an idea now, I need an execution by the end of the day. And all too often we stop thinking about, okay, what is the job to be done for this brand in total, and what is the job to be done with this particular piece of creative. And having spoken to a lot of our clients recently about how their worlds are changing, we've identified that clients that do go through these stages of saying, first of all, what do we want to do? What are the insights that can drive that? What is our overarching idea, which then drives us to content that's appropriately created for the particular platform or channel in which it's going, and then learning once it gets into the marketplace, they're the ones that succeed. Now, Nat's got the honour of showing you lots of great creative, and I can't stand up and give a presentation without showing you some ads. So I want to show you just a couple of examples of organisations that I think are doing this really quite well. The first one is from a brand I've mentioned to you already, and I'll roll it and talk about it then.
Give a little bit of you belong to me. Give a little bit, oh, give a little bit of my love to you. There's so much that we need. So send us all the joy that can hold. Give a little bit.
So I could do an entire case study on this particular piece of creative, but three things to take away. Last year we talked to the world, our clients, about the need for advertising to make a lasting impression. The fact that the overall gist of creative, or just the feelings that creative gives us, are more important than specific messages. So this doesn't talk about how quickly Amazon ships, or that you can have one-click ordering, or anything like that. It really builds on the idea that Amazon started the year earlier with selflessness and giving to other people. Did that really well. This one, Kantar Millward Brown UK's Christmas ad research last year, so people's favourite Christmas ad. The other thing though it does is it works with people's brains and not against it. You don't have to work with this ad, you just get it instantly. It drives emotion. And the great thing is that we see that the peak of people's smiles when we do facial coding on this ad is when they see the singing boxes. And of course, great link through back to the brand there. And so as Natalie said, branding is the biggest single predictor of sales. And so this would have done incredibly well for Amazon. It was interesting for me that Amazon has developed this purpose of being selfless and of giving to other people. It did just make me think of this when I was talking about it. Again, Nat talked about purpose very quickly. She talked about authenticity. Just one thing I want you to take away, again, it's about insight. Insights need to be big and human and global, not necessarily linked to what the current ad tech is or what the current feeling or sentiment is in a particular marketplace. But selflessness, something that's not necessarily linked to Amazon, and a lot of people wouldn't necessarily connect with Amazon, but it's linking selflessness to what they can do, how quickly they can ship, and how much better their prices are than other people, that give that sweet spot of brand purpose that is authentic and relevant and credible and inspirational. Nats did quote me about Can saying, there's too much ad tech and it's killing creativity. I do believe that ad tech can work for the service of purpose. There's a great example from Australia that won a creative award at Cannes last year and went on to win creative effectiveness this year.
Guys, what colour is this sock? Blue? You're the dumbest
I think it's
ever.
gold, idiot.
The internet is an angry place. But what if that's just because we're hungry? Luckily, Snickers has created the Hungerithm, a hunger algorithm that monitors the mood of the internet. So when anger goes up, Snickers prices at 7-Eleven go down. Now when the weather's crappy, you get cheaper Snickers. Political scandal, cheaper Snickers. Meteor strike, definitely cheaper Snickers.
So over meteors.
To lock in a price, hit Get a Snickers on your mobile to get a reduced price barcode, then simply head down to your local 7-Eleven to claim your Snickers. Snickers Hungerithm. The angrier the internet, the cheaper the Snickers. Get your low price bar at snickers.com.au. You're not you when you're hungry.
So it absolutely comes back to the purpose and the creative idea of the campaign platform that Snickers has had over a number of years now and articulated in a particularly Australian way. What I love about it as well is that they've really thought about how convenience works. If you go to a convenience store to get chocolate at 4 in the afternoon, you're faced with a lot of choice and you'll do something impulsively. But here you're locking in your brand choice before you actually go into store, which is genius. And so was awarded a Creative Effectiveness Award. So I've gone away a little bit from AI, really talking about things that I think are important to creativity today. I started talking about man versus machine. I think what I've shown you is that actually that's not the case. What we need to be thinking about going forward is about how man and machine work better together and how we train computers to help us to be creative, sort through all of the data that's out there and give us the ability to be creative with our consumers and with people in real life. 4 thoughts for you to take away. AI is coming, as we said, it's getting better and it will be there. I think we should start experimenting with it using a 70-20-10 approach. 70% of our investment in proven channels, proven methodologies, 10% going on the more experimental stuff because we don't know quite where it's going yet. We should be doing things brand objective first. So let's not talk about digital first, let's not talk about mobile first or AI first, but let's always focus on what the brand needs to do and what the brand needs to grow. I touched very, very briefly on the concept of ideas. I do always say you can't have a good ad without a good idea. And I think in our very, very world where we want instant gratification and instant creative, often ideas suffer. And then we talk very, very briefly again about the importance of purpose and the authenticity within that. And there we are. Thank you very much.